Meeting to order. The first item we have is request for council action. For the Finance Committee, we have several. We have 2333 budget amendments, 2334 amend PO 23609 account number, 2335 bids for the 2023 equipment and general pavement services, 2336 bids for job number 1144 2023 concrete street repair, 2337 bids for job number 1145 2023 concrete pavement joint ceiling, 2338 request for ARPA funding airport apron pavement replacement, 2339 amend PO 211359 vendor Medina County sanitary engineers, 2340 2023 carried forward request ordinance, 2341 bids for the self-contained breathing apparatus SCBA for the fire department, 2342 certified local government grant for Ohio Historic Preservation Office, and finally 2343 expenditure for signal service for the service department. The next item we have is 22278 West Creek Conservancy Champion Creek Connector Project for discussion only. Mr. Wardley.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is back before you. We had talked about this at the end of last year. The West Creek Conservancy is a 501c3 nonprofit that applied for funding through the state to acquire the property on the corner of East Smith and Guilford Boulevard. They were awarded the funding and are set to close on the property around the 20th of March. And they are interested in the city accepting the property as a donation. At the time, we were talking about needing to come up with approximately a little over $33,000 in grant matching funds to make as a donation to West Creek. Since our last conversation about this, two local foundations, the Stevenson Foundation and the Lincoln Heritage Foundation, have agreed to contribute to this project and have given enough funding to pay for this. So we'll be looking to move this to council to accept the property from West Creek.
And I believe that well, I guess, do we have to accept it pre-closing or accept it as part of closing on the day of closing? I guess I don't know the timing of that.
I talked to Joe Leslie from West Creek, and it's their hope that they could do a back-to-back closing. So when they close on it, it automatically comes over to the city.
Or is it a direct deed from the current owner to the city?
I'm not a real estate attorney.
No. How the deal was arranged was West Creek got the grant. They asked us for help with the match. Just a little further clarification. Stevenson gave $20,000 of the $33,450. Jim and I both abstained from that. And then the Lincoln Electric Foundation gave the remaining $13,450, and I abstained from that as well. So West Creek Conservancy will close on it. It'll transfer to them, and once they have title, they will transfer it to the city.
So we probably have to have the ordinance or the vote after they acquire title, because it's kind of hard to vote on something when it physically didn't close yet, because something could happen and it doesn't close, but maybe.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So really, and the action of council, as I understand it, would just be to accept the donation from West Creek Conservancy. But it was really a good partnership. Medina County Parks was involved as well, because they have a benefit of keeping that land as is, because it filters the water before it gets down to their projects further east.
Okay. That's good news. Any questions or comments? Well, that's good. Keep us informed, I guess. We'll handle that when it comes up. Item number 3 is 2316, a flashing crosswalk lights at Ashwood Lane and Reagan Parkway. I think this came from Streets and Sidewalks. So, Reggie?
Right. Okay. So the purpose of this was it had come to our attention that the Ashwood Lane and the Reagan Parkway crosswalk, where a lot of students and their parents try to cross the street to go to the elementary school, can sometimes be dangerous because drivers are not paying attention as they're driving down that street. And it is not just during the times of school. There is a crossing guard there that is employed by the school, but they are there during the morning and then in the afternoon. But at times when the crossing guard is not there, it can be a dangerous crosswalk. So the idea was to get a flashing crosswalk signs there at Ashwood and Reagan, just like the signs on the square where the pedestrian can touch the button on the post and then it'll flash, thus the drivers or the vehicles can stop. So initially, it was just that crosswalk, but in talking with Patrick and knowing that there are 2 other crosswalks that could benefit by having this same type of lighting system, the one across from at AI Route there on Sturbridge, and then the other one there on Union by the high school. So Patrick did get quotes for all 3 of them. So I'm going to turn this over to Patrick to let us know what he learned.
Thank you. The one at Union, actually working with Nino, that one's already been awarded, purchase order given. We put the curb ramps in, I believe are in. So that one's happening now. So that leaves the other 2. The 2 quotes were for $13,650 for each location. Our options are we can award one and move ahead right now. The problem is awarding them both combined is over $27,000, which exceeds our $25,000 bid limit. So we can do it, but we'd have to go through a bid process if we wanted to proceed. So that's, I guess, what we need to discuss and decide. Do we want to do one, like Reagan, right away, and then maybe next year do Sturbridge, or do we think it's important enough that we want to do them both now? We'll just have to go through a bid process once council authorizes the bid.
Your thoughts?
Well, I don't have any children that are in school anymore, but I certainly sympathize with those who do, and safety is extremely important in our community. So I would like to see crosswalk lights at all 3 of these intersections or these crosswalks.
So you're pro-bid, okay.
Yeah, I'm pro-bid.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody about that? Anybody have any opinion, whether to do one this year, one next year, or do them both now? Danny?
I mean, I agree with Reggie. I mean, when you're talking safety, would be important to do the other 2 also. My concern would be going through the bidding process was going to delay this.
Right.
Reagan Parkway is much more busier than Sturbridge. Not that Sturbridge isn't busy, but not as busy as Reagan. So I would be in favor of doing Reagan this year and Sturbridge next year.
Patrick,
Just to speed up the,
how long, if we did the bid process, would it be able to be installed before the commencement of the school year next year?
If we went through the bid process, you would have to authorize us at the next meeting. If we got a emergency clause, we could bid it right away. Assuming we don't, it'd be up to you, but we'd start the bidding 30 days after that. Once the bid process starts, it'll be about a month before we're signing a contract. And from what I'm told, it's about 8 weeks for delivery of these. So if you do the math, we're
So it'll be about June or July
Yeah.
if we do that, which will be hopefully before school still.
correct, yeah.
So there's still a possibility to do both of them.
As Councilman Hare pointed out, people still use these crossings whether school's in session or not.
Right. Mr. Shields, you had something to say?
No, I was going to say, I guess I was at first thinking that I'd rather get the one done sooner. I have not had as many people reach out to me about the issue at Sturbridge. And it's a middle school as opposed to elementary school, so.
As I mentioned a couple times, over the years, I have gotten several, even many, I don't know about complaints, but issues of concern at Reagan. A lot of people have called about that. I don't think I've ever had a phone call about Sturbridge at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if that matters or.
I have more worries about the car traffic as far as, there's just one entrance and exit out of Rut, and nobody rides a bus, everybody gets picked up, and so I have more people complain about it's backed up there, but there's nothing you can do about that because they're there to pick up their kids at that time and it clears up, but I have not had issues about the safety of the intersection, it's more about the backup that happens on Sturbridge. at that intersection.
Mr. Coyne?
Mayor.
So for the benefit of the rest of council, we talked about this a little bit after Border Control was done. Another advantage of bidding it this year is we don't know what the price increases may be next year. So if we could get the prices locked in, albeit it's going to take a little bit more time, but that way we may avoid that price increase for next year. So
Well, it sounds like we could get it done before the fall, which I don't think we'll get it done this spring. I think that would be, so it's not going to be any use this, school year, but next school year, it sounds like we may be able to get them both done before school commences, so I don't know. Mr. Rose?
Yeah, Patrick, how long would it take you to get the signing if we don't bid? If we just do the one on Reagan, how long would it take?
It would be about 8 weeks once we issue the PO. That's what they say the turnaround time is, and this is the company, the same one that's doing the one on Union, and I think it was even less. I think they're saying 6 weeks out, but now they're saying 8 weeks, so
Okay, so.
2 months from
We're still-
whenever we issue the PO.
All right. Well, I thank you, Mayor, for your concern with the dollars. I drive Reagan almost daily, and the volume of traffic is much greater than on Sturbridge. So I would favor doing Reagan now and then Sturbridge sometime down the road.
Oh, so we have a difference of opinion here. This is good. So, Mr. Lamb, do you have anything to add? Because you have to decide, we're going to have to vote on, either the bid process or non-bid process. So that's where we're heading. Okay, so again, who would like the bid process? I guess I would.
Okay, so as an accountant, I'm cost conscious, so, I would like to see the lower price through the bidding process to ensure that we have a set price for the
Well,
cost of
it
these.
sounds like it'll be done before fall, too.
Yeah,
so
and
I'm-
it's,
'cause we can't get
we've
it done
gone this
this
far.
fall. Right.
So, a couple more months, I think we can,
Right, so I'm for the bid.
Yeah.
You're for the bid?
I
Anybody else for the
want to
bid?
see them all done.
We have 3 for the bid. So, and then there's 3 for the non.
I'm not against the bid. I guess I thought it was more urgent to get it done on
But it doesn't
Reagan.
sound like we can get it done before this school year lets out, so I don't know what it would matter.
Right.
Well, 8 weeks puts us at spring break,
April's 2 months.
April.
Well, April, then you
And
gotta
like-
hire the contractor to put it in.
Same folks that,
Oh, it's the same folks,
the
so they
bid,
would-
it's
how long would it take them
all-inclusive.
to put it in?
yeah. It only takes a day or two to put it in.
Oh, it's part of
not
the 8
much.
weeks? Okay, so we might have it in at the end of April, so
Yeah.
we could use it for a month, or you have to wait to get both of them to have next year. I guess I'm still for both of them, but that's just my opinion.
And then also with, one thing to keep in mind, there's the number of apartment residents who use Reagan Park. They would have the benefit of using the crosswalk on Reagan as well as the school children.
No, I
Because they're,
agree.
as I said before, it doesn't just benefit the kids, it benefits
Well, there's
the
also a
whole
crossing guard
population.
there currently. I mean, they
Well,
do have a
that's-
crossing
Right,
guard.
the
Yeah,
schools
during
do,
schools.
yes.
The schools.
But not off of certain school hours,
Right,
okay?
right.
The rest of the time, they cross on their,
Mr. Lamb's got some.
as they dare.
Okay, Mr. Lamb?
I still think we could bid it and get them put up and improve the safety. That's a pretty reasonable amount of time, really. That's not a great length of time. They have never been there.
Right,
They'd be brand new.
we've never been here ever.
Right.
So I guess that's the question. Are we still 3-3? I guess Jess, since she's not here, can't be the tiebreaker, but if you guys really want it for this year, I guess, we have to wait to get the final decision for Jess to make the final decision, which, if she wants it now or what. Kimberly?
Mr. President, it's not my project, but I have a question.
Yes?
And you always say we should ask questions.
Yes.
If you do the bid process, wouldn't there be like an economy of scale, like getting it all done at once instead of having to submit the paperwork twice in 2 separate projects? Like,
Well, correct, but I guess the question really comes down to, if you bid it out, is there any chance that the price will come in lower than the 13.5 you said?
That I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Okay, so I mean, I guess I just wouldn't want to wait till next year, because most likely it's going to be more, and it just seems like if we can get them both done, I guess we're talking about a month here where at least the school kids are involved. that there may not be a crossing there while they're in school, when there could be, but as Bill pointed out, it's been all these years, there's never been a cross, no flashing lights there, so. Are we still on that, or what do you want to do?
How soon do you think the one on Union's going to be working? Because I'm actually most worried about that one with the tennis courts, and that's going to be coming up in March here.
Yeah, that should be in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Okay.
I can follow up on that, but.
Because I'm assuming they did the curb cuts before the weather changed.
Correct, and that's from just to clarify, that's from a 2022 PO, that's why we were able to do that, and it's just taken this long, unfortunately, to get to this point, but yes. We
Yeah,
just
'cause-
had it oopsed, they oopsed it a week and a half ago, so it should be ready here in a couple weeks.
No, I'm fine, as long as they get done. I didn't know if there was a bigger hurry, that I have not heard as many issues, that's why I thought.
So are you leaning to, okay with the bid process?
I'm fine with whatever, yes.
Okay, so it sounds like then there's 4 of us for the bid process, so. If, I guess, I guess if we could start that.
Well, we'll have to do an ordinance at the next council meeting
Yes.
authorizing us to bid.
Sure. And I don't know if anybody's objectable to the emergency clause to get it bid so we can get it in quicker than later. Does anybody have a problem with that? Because we all want this, and I don't think personally, I don't think anybody in the community will object to it.
Right.
Because it's a safety issue. So I think we can submit it that way, if you would, Pat.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we have is, no, do we have to vote? No, I guess you submit it next time. There's nothing really to vote on. 2333 budget amendments, we have 2023-007 donation from the Odd Fellows. Looks like this is just a $1,000 donation that we have to accept, correct, Keith?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2023-008, accept funds from the Veterans Treatment Court. I guess this is just
Same thing, basically.
same thing, accept some funds that were donated, $2,500.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, now, motion carries. 2023-009, miscellaneous not covered by any of the carry forward. Keith?
These are kind of what it says. We don't have enough in carry forward to cover these items, and we need these appropriations.
All right, any questions on that?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, 2334, amend account number PO 23609. Keith?
This is just getting that IT fund up and running, and these POs had come through as 688, or pardon me, as 388, because that's where they would have been, and then we have the new fund, so we need to move them over.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2335, bids for the 2023 equipment and general pavement services. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual asphalt paving program. City served well by it. Last year, we were able to do West Homestead between Court and Huntington. We did Bolivar Alley and South Elmwood Extension, as well as the water breaks that are in pavement and asphalt. So we're hopeful to secure good prices by going out again this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 2335, bids for the we just did that one. 2336, bids for the 2023 concrete street repair. Patrick?
Thank you. This is our annual program of concrete slab repair throughout the city. Last year, we asked for $600,000. We're asking for more this year. We've been notified about some pretty hefty price increases for concrete. We've seen it already. So we're asking for a little more, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to do more volume. It's just to cover what we think we need to have done.
Do we still have an identification of areas in the city that are most critical? Is that?
We do. We try to focus, we're doing right now, assessing all the pavement, finding out what absolutely has to be repaired. And then, once we get those covered, then we look at certain kind of target areas where we just want to hit it hard and be done with it for a long time.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 2337, bids for the 2023 concrete pavement joint ceiling. Patrick?
Thank you. Again, this is our annual program. This is pavement maintenance. This extends the life of the pavement by preventing water infiltration that can freeze thaw, damage the pavement. This is the same as we've had in the past year.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2338, ARPA funding request for the airport apron pavement replacement. Patrick?
I'll start this. I think Greg will jump in as well. I believe there's a little over $400,000 remaining to be unaccounted for or unclaimed, so to speak, for the ARPA funds. We're requesting that we designate $180,000 of that to replace pavement at part of the apron at the airport, specifically on the west side of F Hangar Road near the taxiway. There's some pavement there that's in very terrible shape. Greg can explain, it does cause safety problems for the pilots and the airplanes because it's crumbling. And when that gets kicked up, it can get into an engine and cause damage. This is certainly not the only project we need done. There's a lot of pavement repairs to be needed, but this is, we think, the most critical, and we'd like to get this taken care of. If it's approved here, designating it, we'll develop a project and come back to you in the future with a request to bid that project.
Mr. Huber?
Patrick is correct. This area of pavement is degraded enough. It's down where the bigger hangars are located. Most of the twin-engine airplanes are stored or hangared. And there's a couple sections when you taxi across them, the heavy wheels on the right side hit this section of pavement. The pavement tilts up and comes within inches of a propeller. If a prop were to hit that section of pavement, the FAA requires a complete tear down of the engine because it's called a prop strike. And if you're not familiar with how to try to weave around that section of pavement, if you drive straight the way you would think you would go, you're going to hit this section of concrete. It's going to tilt up, and this stretch really needs fixed pretty bad.
Any questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2339, a change of vendor from a PO 2021-1359. Patrick?
Thank you. Back in 2021, council approved an ordinance, which was an MOU between the city and the county regarding water service lines on State Route 18 that we wanted to transfer to the county to allow us to abandon our 24-inch pipe down Route 18 and up to the plant. Excuse me. That agreement outlined 4 different connection points that were going to be completed between the county and the city for transfer points. 3 of those are done. 1 is to be done. The issue came up, though, that based on the ordinance, which was with the county, the PO from back then was addressed to the county. County sanitary engineers actually did the work. They've invoiced us for 50% of the costs of the materials that they purchased. I believe it was like $19,000 or something. But we can't pay them because the PO is to the Medina County and not to the county sanitary engineers. So that's why we wanted, it's $15,183, I'm sorry. That's why we wanted to change this vendor on the PO.
Any questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2340, 2023 carry forward request ordinance. Keith?
This is kind of the usual. We don't do healthcare lines. We don't do the trust funds at the end. Other than that, here it is.
Well, a lot of these that are on here that I'm looking at, I mean, they're going to be encumbered because I think there's projects set for a lot of this. Because we're talking about 16,357,000 being carried forward from all the previous years into 2023. But a lot of those have projects attached to those numbers or projects that are going to happen, some of which will be next year, some of them may be in 2024, I would imagine.
Well, projects, and I mean, some of us use this too. I know a lot of departments do. Like, we have some capital items in the finance department that rather than budgeting, when we plan to replace them so much in that year, we budget a flat amount per year, knowing that, okay, eventually stuff's going to need replaced and we'll be there when we get there.
Yeah, so it seems to be working well. I mean, there's enough money there for all the projects that really need to happen. So, any questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2341, bids for self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, for the fire department. Chief Walters?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to accept bids and ultimately place an order for replacing the department's self-contained breathing apparatus, the SCBA's, that the firefighters wear. Our current SCBA's are 16 years old, going on 17 years old. They're no longer compliant with the current standards. And you may remember, council approved us to apply for a FEMA grant in December of 2021. We did make that request, but we were not successful. That particular year, this last cycle, FEMA received over $2 billion in requests for that particular grant. So there were a lot of unsuccessful fire departments, not just us. The emergency clause, we're requesting that and hopeful to bring this to council tonight as well. For months now, really for over a year, we've been experiencing an increasing number of failures with the current SCBA's that we have. They have electronic components that control the safety features that the firefighters rely on to let them know when they're running low on air, or if there's an emergency, they can hit that. And it's all we can do to keep up with it. And this year alone, we've taken another 5 packs out of service, so.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just, go ahead, Paul. Well, I just want council to know that we did check, that the chief hasn't generally had to do any items for bids, and didn't realize with this threshold that we have no choice but to bid it unless they're involved with either a state bid or a federal bid or a school bid that we could ride on. So we went back to the vendors to try to research that, and just our luck, they're not. So we can't forego the bid, but nonetheless, for the reasons the chief explained, this is a top priority to get these, get the bid done, get it awarded, and get these on order as quickly as possible for the safety of our firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. Chief, is it possible that once we get this new order and we start putting them on some sort of rotation where we're not looking to order all of them all at once, that we replace, like say every 5 years, we replace 5 of them or whatever the right number is?
Yeah, so I do use that approach for other expensive items, not so much the ones that involve technology, safety technology, and you run into compatibility issues. Other departments that have used a model like that, the SCBA's, once we buy them, we should be able to expect to get another 15 years out of them. So if we try to do a replacement cycle, what we'll run into at some point is a compatibility issue where one pack won't work with the other. And that is, you can't operate on the fire ground that way. They all have to be able to talk to each other, so to speak. Actually, in 15 years, they probably will talk to each other.
In 3 languages?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So one more point, Paul, is that if we did it every 5 years, then some of them we're getting rid of still have 10 years of life. So financially, it doesn't, I understand the point to spread it over, but the cost of them and then the duration that they're certified for wouldn't make sense to get rid of them early, really. So we're kind of stuck with this rotation every 15 years.
Okay, but say some of them go bad before the 15 years, okay? So maybe we can, 1 year, we can take those
Yes, sir.
5 or 6 that are bad, and then maybe start a rotation like
Right.
that, if it's feasible at that time.
Or 1 or 2 or 3, whatever. I mean, as long as we can keep pushing that out another 15 years. But I would hope that there's some sort of warranty or.
Yeah, there is a warranty, and there are very strict requirements for the certification, recertification, and annual maintenance of these for obvious reasons. So they generally, we can expect them to last for 15 years, most likely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I think we just plan, for the purchase.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2342, certified local government grant application from the Ohio Historic Preservation Office. Barbara?
Thank you, Mr. President. This grant would allow, would be a $5,000 grant that we have the opportunity to partner with Main Street Medina on. They have been given an additional $5,000 grant from 3M, and so we would pair up the grant with this grant with that grant. That would allow us to purchase 10 historic markers for suitable historic sites in the city. If you have walked around, you may have seen that there are historic markers at the Root Homestead, the UCC Church, and that's the most recent one I could think of, St. Paul's Episcopal Church, Elm Farm Dairy has one, and then the one it pictured, I think you got the attachment, that's the one by the Interurban, the little building. But there are, the bigger size is the one that we would be looking at. It costs about it does cost $1,000 each.
Okay, any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2343, expenditure for Signal Service Company for the Service Department. Nino?
Thank you, Mr. President. So when we have issues arising on problems with the traffic system that are above the capabilities of our field folks, technical, electrical, what have you, just like we have several lights that are tied to the the railroad on West Smith Road that require an expertise and for emergency repairs. That's what this expenditure is for.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else to come before finance before we recess into executive session?
If not, I'll make a motion at 6:32 PM for council to go into executive session for conferences with the law director of the city concerning disputes involving the city that are subject to pending or imminent court action, to include the mayor, the law director, and Mr. Patton, city engineer.
Second?
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Lamb,
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll be recessing into executive session to discuss the pending litigation, coming back into finance, and adjourning from finance, taking no action of any item discussed in executive session. We are in recess.